I'm so glad that I've got these two together over there. Yeah, I am.
It's not recording. Okay, we are live. We are on Facebook.
Okay.
Why are we not recording?
I'm looking at why it's
Got
not.
to have that. Do I? Oh,
Howdy, everybody, and welcome to In Wheel Time, the award-winning all things automotive car talk show. On today's 2-hour program, we talk with J.D. Powers about advanced driver assist programs. You're going to want to hear that. You'll take a live tour with the Bumberas Performance folks out in Katy, Texas. Michael Wooding shows what's up with his Pontiac. Are we going to have Michael Wooding? I know that we had a change
no,
there.
we shifted him over to next week. Michael's going
Okay.
to be with us next week.
All right, very good. Well, I didn't make note of that, but sorry about it. My fault. All right, so we're going to get a tour of the Pontiac wagon next week. Inside our new car showroom this week is the 2020 Mazda 6. We'll give you an in-depth review of that. We'll also have this week's automotive news and our weekly Ram Tracks and Jeep Trails features. That and more just ahead on today's 2-hour In Wheel Time car show for Saturday, April 25th, 2020. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world Mars. Raise your hand, Mike.
Howdy, ma'am.
Okay, out that way. And Mr. King Conrad DeLong over there in the orange shirt, giving the peace sign. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad that you could join us today. Thanks again. We really appreciate it. And we're going to get started right away with what we thought would be a pretty interesting interview. Her name is Kristen Kolodge, and she is with J.D. Power. And Kristen is the executive director of driver interaction and human machine interface research at J.D. Power. I don't know how you get a title like that, Kristen, but I have to tell you that it's really impressive.
Exactly.
That's all that I can say. Conrad, could you put her up, please?
Yep. Well, we up and running.
Okay, very good. Hi, Kristen. Now we can see you. And again, that's quite a title that you've got there, and it's very impressive. But tell me exactly what it is that you do at JD Power with that title.
So I have the pleasure of researching what is it that consumers want with technology in their vehicles, and then how is that working for them? Is it make sense? Is it easy to use? And then I get to take that back to the manufacturers and let them know what the consumers think.
What do the consumers think? What do they want? Is it consumer overload these days?
There is a bit of consumer overload, but there also is definitely some technologies that are resonating really well with consumers. At this point in time, we're seeing some bright spots, if you will, in safety technology that consumers are starting to use. So think about the blind spot warning system in your vehicle, or think about the automatic emergency braking. Some of those are having making really strong headway with consumers appreciating what that technology can do for them.
What about the automatic cruise distancing stuff that they have that's out there, where the cruise control is going to adjust based on your distance and travel speed? Are a lot of consumers really engaging in that? Are they really like
Have the owner's manual with the car. And in the past, when I've gotten an all-electric vehicle, it comes with a charging cord that I plug into my 110 outlet at the house, and then I plug it into the car, and it automatically starts. This car didn't do that, and the charge kept getting lower and lower and lower. Wound up trying to find a 220-volt charging station, which is not that far from me, up at Whole Foods. Had a problem with that. The car wouldn't accept the charge, but I think
to elevate that awareness, that experience. But even more so, what you're describing, that range anxiety, that, do I have enough juice, as you described it there? That's absolutely one of the primary elements that's been holding consumers back. And really, I would consider it an issue in perpetuity. I mean, we've been looking at electric vehicles here at JD Power since 1997, and this was a top issue even back then. So even though manufacturers have made huge strides in improving that type of range.
Cars are expensive. I mean, this particular car that I had was $46,000, and I'm not talking about a Tesla here. So there is a huge investment not only on the manufacturer side, but also on the end user side that has to be made for a technology that, unless you are driving to and from work and that's all you use the car for, and you don't have some pop-up trip, let's say from Houston to Galveston and back, that seems to be a real holdup for me personally.
Yeah, and you're not alone for sure. I mean, we're seeing that type of, that same sentiment, that same concern. I mean, these battery electric vehicles are extremely expensive right now. We know that there will be a huge number of new products, new battery electric vehicles coming to the market. The estimation is somewhere in the order of 100 new vehicles between now and the next 2 to 3 years that are going to certainly meet more of the consumer expectation in terms of size, capability, utility, et cetera. But even still, that cost element is going to be there. These batteries are extremely expensive. I mean, to have inside the vehicle. One of the elements that, when we go back to that consumer awareness about what can this battery electric vehicle technology do, in theory, it's supposed to be less expensive to maintain. So when you start thinking of total cost of ownership, things of that nature, that should help to right size the equation. But again, it's a very huge upfront investment.
Well, the other thing is too is the infrastructure, and I want to go back to Thanksgiving time, and I read a story about a ginormous problem that they had out in California on the freeway between San Diego and Los Angeles, and I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about with that smile on your face, where people said, okay, well, we're going to stop halfway and recharge the vehicle because they can't make it the entire distance between the two cities. So they all piled up at this one charging station out in the middle of nowhere, basically, between San Diego and Los Angeles, and were stuck there for hours upon hours waiting in line to get to the one charging station. That's a problem.
It is a problem. And again, I go back to the point that I view California as being the most battery electric vehicle forward state that we have from an infrastructure readiness perspective in comparison to the rest of the United States. And that was a problem. And it is a problem. And certainly it's on consumers' mind, because while a battery electric vehicle may be the right choice for a day-to-day type of
short distance drive
operation, but those long-term drives is where that pain point is still real. And this isn't something that the manufacturers themselves can solve, which makes this even more of a really hot topic, because it's a greater ecosystem, right? The manufacturers beyond Tesla are not taking that strategy of wanting to get into the infrastructure business.
Well, they don't want to do that no more than they want to get into gas stations. But I'm sure up there in Detroit, LA, places, Houston's the same way. It may be only 20, 25 miles across, but it may take you an hour, hour and a half to do that. So you got to have enough electric juice to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
So,
and even more so, just one other point on that is thinking about California, certainly thinking about Texas. When you start to get into extreme temperatures, and you guys certainly have it on the high degree,
right?
I'm in the Michigan area, and I think about the cold winters. I mean, batteries like to be in a very mild, temperate climate. Right. So when you think about those extremes on either end of the spectrum for temperatures, that's when that range, when that battery starts to decline faster.
Yeah, as the battery performance falls off on high and low temperatures.
So, Kristen, the question here is why are the manufacturers investing billions, with a B, billions of dollars into battery electric when it's still a big consumer? I'm not sure if I want to go that way.
Well, some of this comes from the government and regulatory pressure. some here within the United States. And when you think about these manufacturers that are global companies, you can see some even more drastic regulatory measures taken in other regions of the world. And so this investment in this type of technology is certainly following in the United States to really get over and kind of start that flywheel moving for battery electric vehicles.
Well, you had spoke earlier about your task is to gather data from customers and find out their ability of usage and how much they like the different programs the manufacturers are running, but you also feed that back to the manufacturers. How do the manufacturers respond to your feedback?
Well, right now this is a tough message to take because we've been doing this research. We actually do this consumer research on a quarterly basis. So we know that these battery electric vehicles, that they're coming. And so we want to see, is the interest from consumers, is it starting to increase? Is there starting to be a greater likelihood of wanting to purchase this type of technology? And frankly, the needle is not moving. And so that's a tough pill for the manufacturers to take because, as we've just discussed, they're investing so much into this technology. And so to think that their product is going to be arriving at the dealership showroom in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and yet the likelihood to purchase is extremely low, that has got a lot of people nervous. But also, one of the elements that we continue to stress is what can we do to help advance this level of consumer awareness. Certainly making sure that the dealerships are ready to have this conversation, that you've got that staff that's trained and has the vehicles, these battery electric vehicles, ready to show, but also recognizing more education is needed to be able to bring awareness about what this type of vehicle can do for society.
Kristen, it is a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your knowledge and information today from J.D. Powers. We really appreciate it. Let's stay in touch. Next time you got another one, let us know, and we want to talk to you again.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. Kristen Kolodge, and she is with J.D. Power. All right, coming up, we've got Conrad's Car Clinic, and we're going to have a car review this hour, and that's the Mazda 6. It's all coming up right after a quick break here on In Wheel Time.
3 hours in the cold rain to watch your soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others, and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's a Saturday, and it's time for another In Wheel Time car show, and thank you for joining us today here on In Wheel Time. Right now we're going to do a car review. It's the In Wheel Time car show review, and we are going to have this hour the 2020 Mazda 6. It comes in several trim levels: the Sport, the Touring, the Grand Touring, the Grand Touring Reserve. Apparently they like the word Grand Touring a lot. And the Signature Series. Well, guess which one we had? We had the Signature. Top of the line Mazda 6. 4-door mid-size sedan, seats 5 passengers. This car was all new in 2014. Yes, it's 6 years old, but still extremely relevant because of the updates that they've had through the years. This is one sharp-looking car. Sharp grille and headlights. That front end of it is really nice. Athletic styled front fenders, a raked roof line. It's a fastback, basically, sedan. Sexy rear end, too, by the way. And who doesn't like a sexy rear end? Just saying. What I liked about it, gets top marks for the still relevant design. I've always liked Mazdas. I like the engines. I've liked the styling of Mazdas. This is really a great car. It truly is. And I'm not trying to sell the car. I'm just telling you. Interior highlights. Well, it's got a beautifully styled interior overall. Nice color choices, too, and comfortable seating for the surfaces in there. Layout of the center stack is a bit dated. Infotainment screen is perched high atop the dash. So it sits on top of the dash and not built into the dash. You may like that. You may not. It's kind of an old school design, but it's still relevant today. Cargo and trunk room, ample and competitive. What I liked about it, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is standard now on all models. What could use improvement? Not a big fan of their infotainment system. It's got a control knob on the center console, and the system functionality of it is a bit sketchy as well. You may like it, and that's fine. And those people that have those cars, that use them every day, good. You got it down. For me that gets to drive one of these every once in a while, I found it a bit dated. Anyway, 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine. It comes in two versions. It has the normally aspirated version and also has a turbocharged version, and that's the one that I had that had 250 horsepower out of this little four-cylinder and 310 pound-feet of torque. And let me tell you, it would get up and go. 6-speed automatic transmission. It should have had at least an 8-speed, I thought. But remember, this is a 2014 model. Kind of. Although it is in 2020. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, don't get me wrong. This is not a put down in any stretch of the imagination. This is a review, so keep that in mind. Miles per gallon, great. 23 city, 31 highway for a combined of 26. I got 30 miles per gallon. Now, granted, most of my trips on the freeway or the Beltway. All right. What I liked about it, power and mileage, both winner chicken dinner. As I mentioned, if there was any improvement, I'd like to see an 8-speed or a 10-speed. That would be nice with an automatic. Ride and handling, quick steering. The ride quality is a little bit rough. It's a little bit dated, but, I'm just nitpicking it. So keep all of that in mind. Base trim price, $35,300. Price is tested, $36,620. The base model price, $24,100. That's the normally aspirated four-cylinder that has about, 200 horsepower or so. Not bad. So competitors to this vehicle, the Honda Accord, $23,870 is where it starts. Starting price for the Hyundai Sonata, $23,600. And the Nissan Altima, $24,100. So they're all right there in line with the base price of the Mazda 6 for 2020. At $24,100. And that is the review of the 2020 Mazda 6.
Yeah, I just got out of a Mazda, and there's a lot of nice features in those cars. They're putting some good stuff in them.
I really do like the Mazdas. Always have. All of the clients.
Yeah.
And they look good, too.
They do. All right, coming up, we've got Conrad's Car Clinic, and that is just around the corner. Just a reminder that the In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook.com/InWheelTime. On YouTube and Periscope. Podcasts are also available on Stitcher and Podcast Arena. We got more of the In Wheel Time Car Show coming your way here in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Boy, does that date me or what? Yes, it does, and thank you for reminding me.
911, what's your emergency?
There's a train that just hit a car.
Sir, what is your location? Look around for a street sign, sir.
It's 8th and Orchard. 8th and Orchard.
Okay, very good. 8th and Orchard. Sir, help is on the way.
Why would he do that? The train still doesn't stop. You have to get there now.
At a railway crossing, even if the engineer sees you and hits the brakes, it can take a mile for the train to stop. And for you, that's too late. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hey, thanks for joining us for today's In Wheel Time Car Show. Houston's and America's most important car talk show. We are all things automotive. Time now for Conrad's Car Clinic. And we're going to kind of continue what we started last week and talk about oils oils for your car.
And the use of all of the low viscosity oils that so many of the manufacturers are using. You know, last week we talked about the 020, 520, and even Honda's going to a 016 oil, which is a really low viscosity oil.
It's like sewing machine oil.
Very much so. You got to remember, viscosity is an oil's resistance to flow.
Yeah.
So it's, we say it as thickness, but it's the resistance to flow is what viscosity is. So one of the things that's happening is as they're going with these lower viscosity oils and the extended oil changes, and then they add things like turbocharging to it, which raises the temperature of the engine oil, direct injected engines, which again raise the temperature of the oil. It creates a lot more stress and strain on the oil. So as the manufacturers have been changing the stresses on engine oil, the oil companies have been improving the quality of their oils with all of the various additive packages and stuff that they build in the oil. You know, so now where it is SN plus is the oil specification.
SN?
SN. And SN's been around
Serial
a while.
number oil.
Well, yeah, but it was back in the early 2000s it was SL oil. So those 2-letter designations are how the API determines the level of quality of that oil and the progression of the oil.
American Petroleum Institute?
API, American Petroleum Institute.
Well, I got it right.
So they've gone to an SN plus is the spec right now, and that is designed to manage some of these higher temperatures at the longer periods of time that engines are running. But they have had some issues with it as well as they've gone with these extended oil changes. Some manufacturers have really had some major flood problems out there, sludge problems out there, as people are told to change their oil at a certain interval and they miss them. So those sludge engines don't work correctly because there's so many things in an engine that are hydraulically actuated inside the engine that as they sludge up, those little micro passages kind of get full of stuff, and then they don't do the things they want, like variable valve timing, cylinder deactivation, and some of those high-tech things that they do.
At this point in my life, I get a little sludged up now and then.
And you don't work as well when you're sludged up either.
No, I don't. But there's a pill for that, and it works great.
And then finally, especially with gasoline direct injection, one of the other problems they have is fuel dilution. So now you get gasoline down in the engine oil, and then the oil doesn't lubricate correctly. And then the oil also evaporates quicker when you mix gasoline in it because the gasoline's going to evaporate the oil.
Well, you put gasoline in oil, doesn't it wash the gasoline, kind of diluting it and washing the properties of it off the cylinder liner?
Absolutely it does. So as that happens, you burn oil, and it's not necessarily that you're burning the oil, but the oil evaporates.
Yep.
And as it evaporates, so that's why sometimes when you bring your vehicle in for an oil change, it may be a quart and a half, 2 quarts low on oil because of the fuel dilution and the oil evaporation has become an issue. So all of those things compound the reason to do your oil change on a more frequent basis. My personal opinion is 5,000 to 7,000 miles, regardless of what your manufacturer says, so that you're not only taking good care of the oil and making sure you're getting the longest life out of your engine, which is probably the most expensive thing to replace inside of your car. You're also not having to go in and check your oil level as frequently. You know, the owner's manual in a car says you need to check your oil level every time you fill up with gasoline.
That's ridiculous.
Nobody does.
Nobody.
But with that, sometimes what they'll find out is that when you go in to get your oil changed, the vehicle may be a quart and a half, 2, 3 quarts low on oil. Oh, absolutely.
I've never owned a car that was low on oil except a 54 Chevy 235 Blue Flame 6 3/4 ton pickup truck.
And that actually had a downdraft tube on it where it just spit oil vapor out onto the ground, which they're not allowed to do. So that downdraft tube now it has become the PCV. They actually draw that oil vapor that comes out and burn it through the engine.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I had a hard time going from 3,000-mile oil changes to 5,000-mile oil changes. But I assume that if you go 5,000 today with today's cars, you're doing good.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you can go, because the quality of oil has gotten better. I'm okay if you're using a synthetic blend at a 5,000-mile interval, at a full synthetic going 5 to 7,000 miles. I think you're okay at that, but I still think you need to change it not much more than about 7,500 miles, even on a full synthetic. And on some cars, that can be pretty expensive. You're talking about some of the European imports that are carrying 9 quarts of full synthetic oil. You may be talking about $120, $200 oil change.
Yeah, well, ask me about the Corvette.
Probably in the 120 range, because you run Mobil 1 in that.
Correct.
But, on some of the high-dollar European stuff, seeing a $200 oil change is not unusual. So changing that every
around my house.
I was going to say, because I remember going to High-Low and buying, a $5 jug of oil, filling it all up, and then, hey, what does it take for an oil filter? A couple of buck oil filter.
Right.
So for under $10, I could do the oil change in my garage in about 15 minutes.
And then, and probably High-Low used to take your old junk oil as well.
No, they didn't. Don't ask me what I did with it.
Okay, we won't.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Hey, calling all car, truck, and Jeep clubs. We'd love to feature your bunch at our Car Club Spotlight. Just shoot us an email with your contact information, and you'll get your bunch on the air and online. In Wheel Time continues after this snappy break.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so if you have a fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going in. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome once again to America's award-winning car talk show, In Wheel Time, your weekly go-to all things automotive place, along with Mike Out of This World Mars here, busy on his computer.
Howdy, Mom.
Don't ask him what he's looking at over there, because I don't think any of us really want to know.
No, you don't.
And King Conrad DeLong, who's also on his computer down there. Don Armstrong here. Glad that you could join us today. Joining us right now on Zoom is Kendall Bombera. Kendall, hi, how are you?
No, I think Kendall's got muted on her end.
Oh, she's muted on her end. Okay. Well, at any rate, we were going to talk to Kendall.
We still will. We just got to figure out how to get her to unmute.
Yeah, she's working on it. She is here.
She's there?
She is here.
She's everywhere.
Now I just got to get it situated.
Bombera's Performance. I think I heard her. Did I hear you, Kendall?
Yes.
Yes, I hear you. Now all we got to do, there you are. Hi, Kendall. How have you been?
Good. How are y'all?
Well, we're just fine, thank you. You know, it's been a while since I've spoken to you. Actually, a couple of years, I think. Yeah. But it's great to see you. And boy, life has really changed for you with a baby and everything.
Oh no, that's my sister.
Oh, yeah, your sister. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not you yet.
I have 2 awesome little nephews, and so that's as close as I want to be for now.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, well that's good. Sorry about that. So
no, you're good.
So Kendall is with Bombera's Performance. Her dad's been around and been on the racing circuit for a long time, and really a performance king out there. Are you guys still in Katy?
We are not. So a year ago, this coming Monday, we moved out to Steely to our brand new 21,000 square foot facility.
Oh my gosh! So we've not only moved up to a 21,000 square foot facility, but we're further out west.
Yeah, out on the interstate, right? Right off the interstate.
Yeah, right off of I-10.
Yeah, big, nice looking place.
So, so tell me about Kenny and what's going on out there at Bombera's.
So we've got a lot going on with the virus and everything. We closed to the public and we quit taking vehicles in, but we were still here every day, and our guys were here knocking out some big projects that we have. So everything that happened was kind of a blessing in disguise for us because we were able to catch up on a lot of these bigger projects. So things have been really busy. Things have changed. The landscape of the business has changed a bit since we moved from Katy. We get a lot of interstate traffic now, so I give a lot of tours. And we get a lot of, I give a lot of tours. So if anybody's ever interested, you come by and ask for me.
Well, you know, we're waiting for that invitation to come out there and do a live shot with you. But we really appreciate this live shot that we're getting from you right now, because I see a Dodge pickup or something that looks like a pickup, but it sure is awful good looking. And what is this, a 40s truck?
So this is a 56 Power Wagon, and it's a pretty interesting build. It kind of combines all three of the things that we do, which is classic car, performance, restoration, that kind of thing, late model high performance, and a little bit of off-road work, suspension work. So it's not your average Power Wagon. It has a 6.4 liter Hemi.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Late model.
Yeah. And so it had an inline 4 originally, and so this Hemi engine is really big, and so space is kind of an issue, but we're working through it. We're making it work. We had to lift the cab and the bed off of the frame and trim a little bit off the bed, move the cab a little bit back, but we meshed it all together to where you can't even tell it all looks original. The suspension is kind of where it gets interesting. So we've got Curry, hold on, try to figure out what we've got going on here. We've got Curry 9-inch front and rear, and we've got the oil pan in now, and trying to figure out how to make it all work. We've got rough country suspension, but with these older vehicles and these projects, nothing just bolts up. So we have to fabricate a lot of these brackets and kind of make everything fit. So this is going to be a really cool one. By the end of the year, we should be, for sure, by the end of the year.
And the fabrication is really where the artistry comes in on your technicians building those pieces to make sure the angles and the of everything go on correctly.
Yes, we've got 2 really good guys. Our fabricator, when he bends all this metal and does all that, he's really awesome. We have a really great welder. So they kind of, they makes my job easy because I just get to showcase what they do. So yeah, they do fantastic work.
So just thinking, Nick Kappa, he's with Ram Trucks. He's a Power Wagon freak. I mean, he is. He's got some old stuff. I'm going to send him a copy of this clip. He is going to freak out over that.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm really excited for it.
So Kendall, what is your job there at the shop? Are you running the shop?
So I do a lot of marketing. We do have a shop manager, Sean. He was here a few minutes ago, but he just left. I do all the marketing. So all the photos, videos, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. The main part of my job is content creation. So I do all the photos and videos and everything. And our guys, like if you've seen our YouTube channel, you'll see that they're pretty big hams. They shied away from the camera at first, but they're all pretty much natural now. So they crack me up. So it's a lot of fun to be able to film them. But then I also, like I said, give a lot of tours. I put together all the marketing material, the website, all that kind of stuff. So my job is pretty easy because I get to make everybody look good, and they already do that for themselves.
Well, listen, we need a lot of help here. So if you're looking, if you're looking for some extra work, this would be the place to come right here at In Real Time.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me know.
You got I see a Charger back there.
I see a 71 Chevelle, 71, 72 Chevelle.
Corvette. You got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we've got, let's see, there's Pantera, mid-engine before mid-engine.
Oh, I haven't seen one of them forever.
We've got a 65 Mustang. We're redoing the front end and suspension and a lot of cool stuff. This green, it's a 68 Mustang. This is going to be a 5.0 Coyote swap.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, so we're putting a new frame underneath it from Roadster Shop. Those guys they make really, really top-notch stuff. So we're putting this frame underneath it. That one's gonna be really, really, really cool. I'm excited for that.
What's the time frame on that for being done?
My dad's over here, so I'm feeding off of him.
Is that who's coaching you?
About 3 months, yeah.
3 months. Well,
that's not that bad.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Well, with this everything going on, we've been able to really make headway on a lot of this stuff. So it's actually helped us out quite a bit.
Well, I see that you've got guys there working today on a Saturday.
So we're not normally open. My dad comes in just about every Saturday, sometimes even Sundays, and just tries to get caught up. He loves what he does, and he just has fun doing it. And I don't think he wants to be home mowing the yard or anything like that. So he
Who does?
Well,
he comes here and just tries to knock stuff out, make it easier for him.
Hey, be sure and ask him for me if he would take on any mobile homes or should I say motor homes. Ask him if he'd like to motor homes. Yeah.
Probably. I'm getting a big X with
Yeah, Don's thinking about getting an old GMC motorhome with the Oldsmobile front-wheel drive in it.
He's not either. Yeah.
We used to do that a long time ago, and that is not easy.
It's not.
Heavy machinery, heavy-duty stuff, that's not easy.
Yeah. No. So, okay. So we've got more cars in there.
El Caminos this place, and
you've come a long way from that little shop over there on Highway 6.
Yes, we have, and it's been a big blessing. So, a funny story: when we moved from Highway 6 to Katy, it was a smaller building. It was only like 12,000 square feet, and the guys only got to work out of like 6,000 of it. So, we were there for like 8 years, and we moved there with the anticipation of just slowing down. We just wanted to work on a few hot rods at a time and have our race cars in the back and just kind of slow down and enjoy what we do. And the day we moved, we opened in Katy, our grand opening. We took in 83 cars.
Oh my
God.
Slowing down a lot there.
So, and they were all hot rods, and that's what we wanted. And that's why I gotta be careful what you wish for, because now that's all we do pretty much. But we do some late model high performance. So this is our shop Camaro. We've got two 66 turbos from Precision, and we're doing this is what I say when our fabricator's awesome. He's custom. See if I can get the camera. So he's doing all of this piping, bends it, welds it, everything, does it all himself by hand.
That's a turbocharger sitting up there.
Yeah, I think she said it had twins on it.
Yeah, this is the Frankenstein intake manifold, and then we've got 66 here, turbo, and then we've got another one down here.
Oh my God!
Of course, you got to go twins on it, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course.
What kind of horsepower?
Go big or go home.
What kind of horsepower are you looking at on that?
Oh, I'd say it's probably going to be around 2,000, I'd say.
2,000
About 2,000 for the Camaro. Yeah.
Oh my God. They don't make tires that will take that kind of power on the street.
Well, and what's funny is because my brother Boyd, so he's in charge of all of the late model high performance stuff. He manages all that, and he is the driver for these cars. And so he's about to be 22 years old, and he's driving these cars.
Yeah, he's bulletproof at that age. He thinks he is anyway.
Powerful.
Pretty fearless.
Yeah, well, he gets that from my dad, so he's got the blood for it, I guess.
I have to ask, are you guys sporting any race cars over there, like circle track cars at all?
Here's a dirt car here.
It just so happens.
Ask and you shall receive.
So where are you? Is somebody racing that car?
So the plan before the world kind of got turned upside down was actually, this is Boyd's dirt car, and he wanted to go dirt racing again this year.
Right.
Just because that is just so much fun. It's down and dirty, and you just have to throw it off the trailer and go. You don't have to worry about shining anything up, getting it beat up, or anything. That's what it's made for. So went and got this ready, and then everything happened, and so it's just been sitting pretty in the shop. But my dad is over here taking the cover off of his prized possession, and so this is my dad's NASCAR late model. They're getting the cover off of it.
Oh, so is he going to do a little asphalt racing with that?
So he goes a couple times a year. He goes out to Tucson and races. They have the Chili Willy there in like every February. And so, for drag racing, we usually go to, Houston Raceway now.
Well, yeah.
But that's a given. This is the best one in Texas. And then for circle track, they actually, for the asphalt, they opened HMP back up to go race there. So we're hoping to hit some of those. We'll have to see. And then for the dirt track, we do Cotton Bowl in Page, Texas.
Okay. They just had, actually, I think they had the World of Outlaws there.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been just before everything got shut down.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice facility. If you ever get the chance to go, I recommend it.
Kendall, it's so great to talk to you and catch up with
Yeah.
the Bombera family. Tell your mom and dad I said hi, and
will
your
do.
sister too, the whole family. And hopefully we're going to get out there and get a personal one-on-one tour with you.
I would love to do it. You just tell me when.
You got it. Thanks again.
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you again
All
soon.
right.
Kendall Bombera
Have a
with
good one.
Bombera Performance. Thank you, ma'am. All right, it's America's #1 car talk show in wheel time. Thanks for riding with us today. We got more right after this quick break.
Suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the In Wheel Time program that you're tuned into, and we thank you for joining us today. I know that we've had some technical issues with pictures freezing and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, but please understand that we've moved to Studio A, and on top of, normal stuff when you move, we've got an additional issue with pictures freezing.
We're going to blame it on the AT&T CEO is stepping down.
Okay, is that what it is?
Yeah,
the
so
AT&T. I don't have AT&T
they're
here, so we've got to
celebrating.
blame it on somebody.
Yeah, well, we're going to blame it on him.
Okay, blame it on him. And by the way, in case you were just wondering, this area back here, you're maybe wondering what that is back there.
Yes, we were, as a matter of fact.
Well, that's I just wanted to make its debut on this program today. This is called the Mystery Garage.
The Mystery Garage.
This is the Mystery Garage.
Okay.
And we're going to take, it's not ready for debut yet, but
they had one thing I found, a vehicle cab cover for a Wrangler JL 4-door. Now, what this does is whenever you're sitting there, let's say you're out at the beach and you're someplace and it's going to rain, but you don't want to put the whole top on, you can take this cover, covers the windshield, comes up over the seating area, and comes down over the back face.
It's a bikini top.
No, it's not a bikini top because that just covers the one. This is actually a car cover, but instead of like on your Corvette that goes all the way down and covers down to the wheels, this just covers the windshield, the seating area, and the cargo space in the back so that your interior doesn't get wet. The rest of it, it's a Jeep. Let it get wet.
So do you have a little clear thing in the front so you could actually use that and drive down the street with it?
No. If you want to do that, then that's when you need to get the bikini cover and just put it over the top. But this is actually a cab car cover, cab over cover.
Conrad's looking at me every time I say
the
bikini
bikini
because
cover.
he wants me to wear the bikini on this show.
I know,
with
and
your
if it's
red pumps.
just the bikini top, it wouldn't be too bad. But I'm just afraid that if you've
It's
got
not
the whole
doesn't have
outfit,
anything to do with the top.
I'm going to go with
We've wandered off the reservation.
I think we're going to stay with the so if you're looking for stuff for your Jeep, go
help
to
myself.
Mopar.com and get your official Jeep gear there, along with lots of other stuff.
Including a bikini, if that's what you really want.
Including a bikini
And by the
top.
way, if you need anything like that, Don at inwheeltime.com. And
he'll share where he gets his stuff from.
That's right. I'll show you where I get my stuff from. There's so many different ways that I could go with that.
And none of it we want to follow up on.
No,
Not
you
at the
know
moment.
that you want to. That's
Actually, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we'll do that after 2 o'clock after we go off.
Okay. All right. Well, just ahead, we've got some crew talk that we're going to do, and I got some very interesting items to discuss. And then we've got some news headlines that's coming up right after a quick break on In wheel time.
And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, speaking of which, issued this. It's a consumer advisory, and I didn't even know such a thing actually existed, but NHTSA, National Highway Transportation Safety Department, whatever, is warning drivers not to purchase a thing called the Little Passenger Seat, made by Little Passenger Seats, Inc. The bench seats are not certified as meeting federal motor vehicle safety standards, which specify minimum safety performance requirements for motor vehicles and motor vehicle equipment. Motorists who own the seat should stop using it immediately. This warning is especially important because the seats are frequently used by children. And it appears by this picture. And this is the only part of the story that I have, so I can't explain it to you anymore. It looks like it fits in the back of an SUV, and it's probably looks like it is tethered with those tether hooks that are back there.
Right, that hold up the back of a buckled-in child safety seat.
Or also strap downs that, you strap items down in the
like
back.
cargo net.
Like a cargo net, that sort of stuff.
Oh, gosh, those don't have enough strength to hold anything.
Of course not. The
accident.
company is no longer in business, according to the BBB. The bench was advertised as a custom third and fourth row seat for more than 70 SUVs and other vehicles. The uncertified benches may still be purchased online, and that's where the issue comes, and sometimes wrongly described as safe and approved for use. If consumers are uncertain about the safety of the product, call NHTSA Vehicle Safety Hotline, 888-327-4236 for assistance.
So this was designed basically to put a third row in a vehicle that didn't originally have a third row. Okay, and which means none of it is bolted to the floor correctly, and none of it is in place correctly. And however much that might weigh, that becomes a projectile.
And
once
notice that it faces the rear.
Faces rear, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, a 60s model station wagon.
Right.
That
so
was not
unsafe.
uncommon.
Yeah, so unsafe, especially, you get rear-ended.
But if you get rear-ended, it's absolutely unsafe. But if you're into a collision up at the front, then you've got the back of this seat up against the back of the rear seat.
It's just wrong on every level.
Yeah,
it is.
But I think NHTSA says no. If you have one, take it out of your vehicle. Don't buy one. It is unsafe. And I would imagine because all of a sudden whoever is back there becomes a projectile. And that's what the big issue is.
They don't have seatbelts either. By the way, speaking of which, things that are awry, and I mentioned this when we had our interview at the top of the hour, and that is the issue that I had. What are y'all doing? Y'all doing some sort of a card deal over there?
Yeah, we are. We're trying to set up a car deal over here. I can't get it set up right.
Why don't you we have our master.
Well, I know, and he's the one that brought it to our attention, so we're trying to figure out what it is.
Okay. At any rate, I mentioned this at the top of the hour, and that was the issue that I had with the electric car that I had 2 weeks ago. And it became such an issue, I had to call, which I never do, I had to call the Press Vehicle Handling Company and say, what up? On Easter Sunday.
What up?
What up?
You said what up?
I did say that.
I don't think so.
So the car didn't come with an owner's manual. All right? That's a major problem for me because I use the owner manual, not a lot, but sometimes I'll go in there and look up something.
But when you need it, you need it.
I need it. So it came with a charging cord, okay? So I plugged it into the 110 outlet outside, plugged the car in, and the car showed, boom, that it's connected. Had a little red item on the dashboard that says you're connected. But it didn't charge anything.
Well, yeah, and so as the charge went down, your range anxiety went up.
Yeah,
yes,
because
exactly.
I kept seeing the charge meter go down. And when it got to 50% and I could not get a charge on it, I thought, okay, well, maybe it has to do with the cord that came with the car.
Yeah.
So what did I do? Try to take it up to a 220-volt place.
But you had to drive it to get there, so the further
it's not a problem. Okay. It had a half a charge, so it had about 100 miles to go. At least that's what the car said.
Right.
So I drive it up to Whole Foods up here at the corner of 59 and Highway 6. And Whole Foods has an EVgo charging station with a great big electric hose that's about that big around that you pull out like a gas pump. You pull out and you plug it in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different deal than the one at the house.
Than the factory one is.
Yeah,
this is a generic one that all the factory cars have.
Yes, but it's got a more connection when the car can accept this more connection.
Oh, yeah, because it's pumping at 220.
Correct. So you plug it in there, and then you have to pull out the card that's got some sort of chip reader in it. This is not a credit card. This is a card for EVgo. And you throw it up there, and it reads it, and boom, it turns on. I didn't have that card either. So I call EVgo. Here's the situation. I got a credit card, but your machine doesn't take a credit card. It takes your card. Yes, we know. Well, why doesn't it take a credit card, for God's sakes? You got to have a special card from your company?
Yes.
What difference does it make? As long as you're getting the money, what difference does it make? So she says, here, let me turn it on for it. Okay? I get to do all the things. Put it in this way. Roll up the car windows, lock the door, turn the car off, do everything that you're supposed to do to get the car to charge.
Now you're standing outside, and it's 95 degrees out.
And it was. And so guess what? It doesn't work either.
Great.
So back to the press fleet vehicle manager, and I said, it ain't charging. They come and get the car, trade it out for something else. So I call and I said, did you ever get the thing to charge? Oh, yeah. We just took it up to the EVgo station, did it. But they had the card. I was never so frustrated in my life, and never will I have, I say this, but you know it's going to happen, will I have another EV.
Did you figure out what the problem was?
No.
You never got an answer back.
No. Done.
So, you know, I had that one, it was a BMW. And it was the one I tried to drive it from there to here.
Yeah. That was the one with the 3-gallon gas tank.
Yeah. You know, it was terrible. And I almost didn't get home because it was the way the electronics in it were running. I don't understand. The press fleet's 250 miles from us. I understand, you know, we want to drive these things, and I'd like to drive them more often. But, you know, you got to get it down here so I can get behind the wheel.
With $1.50 gas, even if it was $3 gas, wouldn't make any difference. I would pay the $3 because of the pain in the butt it was for that particular all-electric vehicle. All right. A couple of stories that I wanted to bring to your attention, making news this week. Automakers headed for a less drastic U.S. sales collapse than feared, helped by online sales, 0% financing, and other incentives, according to market researchers. U.S. retail sales down about 50% now. Industry caught a break last week when Department of Homeland Security guidelines added vehicle sales to its list of essential services. All U.S. states now allow cars and light trucks to be delivered through showrooms online, according to J.D. Power. And another story. In addition to the financial challenges that electric vehicles and other advanced technologies face, consumers remain wary of the advancements. Consumer sentiment about self-driving cars and EVs lags automaker plans to bring these technologies to market. Thank you, God. J.D. Power's 2020 Q1 Mobility Confidence Index is the source for this. The study released Tuesday in collaboration with SurveyMonkey found that for battery electric vehicles, the Consumer Confidence Index remains nearly neutral at 55 on a 100-point scale in the U.S.
Well, that's not good.
It's not good, and because of what I said earlier. These companies are spending billions of dollars in the technology for all-electric cars. When gas is $1.50 a gallon?
Well, but that's going to come back anyhow. I mean, you know, the price.
Even if it's $3 a gallon, the pain in the butt factor with an electric car is too big, especially in a city like this where I want to go from Sugar Land to Katy to Dickinson, back to Katy to here, and I can't do that without stopping for an hour to charge the darn vehicle.
But like we were talking to Kristen from J.D. Powers earlier, regionally there's a different desire for electric cars. When you're in the metro area of New York City, of San Francisco, of L.A., well, L.A. would be weird, but when you're in a dense metro area, I think there's a better reason to have an electric car versus when you're out here in the wide open prairies. So I think regionally there's going to be a high desire for electrics. Just Houston's not one of them.
All right. Well, that's it for this hour of our show, and hour number 2 is going to start right now. Welcome to hour number 2 of the In Wheel Time Car Show. Coming up, we're going to have Mr. Jay Young, on the phone with us. He's going to talk about crude oil because we were talking about oil.
Yes.
The price of oil and gasoline prices and all of that. He's going to join us here in just a second, so we invite you to stay tuned for that. We're also going to have Sabra Johnson's City Classic Cars Resto Mod Builder Shop on the air with us. We'll have our Ram Tracks feature. You'll hear stories making automotive news headlines this week. All that and more just ahead in today's second hour of the In Wheel Time Car Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars. Raise your hand. King Conrad DeLong. Raise your hand. I'm Don Armstrong. Raise my hand. Glad you could join us today. Thanks again. We really appreciate it. So, as I mentioned to you, that Jay Young is on the line with us. Jay, it's a pleasure, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we really appreciate it. And to let everybody know, Jay Young is a fourth-generation oil man, and we wanted to get in touch with him to talk about oil because this, being Houston, Texas and all, is the oil capital of the world. And right now, we're hurting here in Houston because people are losing their jobs. The oil industry is pretty much crashed. And Jay, maybe you could give us some insight because you are the author of a book called Upside of Oil and Gas Investing. Well, I don't know how good the investing's going, but it sure ain't going good over at all the oil refining plants on the other side of town.
I agree. But you know what great timing to have the book, The Upside, because, man, we are hoping there's no more downside in this economy. This has been absolutely brutal. And, about a year ago, there's a lot of economists that just started talking about, how much oil, especially oil, we're producing because we've gone from, 6 million barrels a day less than 10 years ago to over 13 million barrels a day in the United States alone. And so we're producing a lot more oil. And so economists started talking about, hey, you know what? We may see some, because of this increase, and if we continue to increase, then what's going to happen is we're going to have a tremendous amount of oil in the market, so prices may come down. And so it made sense. Our company looked for an asset that didn't rely on, $45 break evens, because that would just seem like, you buy a deal in the Permian, man, you need $30-40 million to buy acreage, $30-40 million to drill wells. I mean, it's an expensive deal. So, that along with Russia and Saudi Arabia coming on and throwing all this millions and millions of barrels a day on the market, and then the pandemic with the supply side, the demand side, global demand's down 25-30%. Man, prices just went really, really bad. Now I'm telling you the bad news first. Okay, I'll tell you the reason why. And I saw a great cartoon in the newspaper this morning, and about taking delivery of this oil and why did oil prices go negative, which is it's a great story. But I'll tell you the what's happening now, but I'm also going to tell you what's going to happen in the next 6 months, 9 months, which is great news for Houston. And I'll let you know why I feel the same way. And there was an article yesterday about, they feel like oil could be $100 a barrel by end of the year.
100.
So but let's finish up on the what's happening now. So we have all this oil in the market, demand's going down, supply's going up, economy, basic 101, more, sellers of crude than buyers. So, price goes down. And now what you're going to see pretty soon, and then all of a sudden it goes negative. Why did it go negative? And my good friend Gary Detterlin there in Houston, Gary said this on one of his Facebook videos. I mean, we're in the same boat, but these people started buying these futures contracts thinking that the price of oil was going to go up. They felt like the price was going to go up, so they started buying these futures contracts. Just like, if you guys wanted to buy a stock, you buy a stock low and you think it's going to go up, so you're going to sell later on whenever you want to. You don't have to sell it, at a certain time. Well, with these futures contracts, what happened was that you had people buying, but they had an expiration date, which was last Tuesday. So they didn't have a choice. They could either take physical delivery of the oil on Tuesday, or they had to sell their contracts. And so when they were selling their contract, they don't want physical delivery. Who wants oil? Who wants
where you going to put it?
Full of oil, basically Wall Street traders, they don't want all this oil. What are they going to do with it? So they started dumping all these contracts as they had to on Monday. So we saw minus $37 oil, and people, I went home at lunch and it kept going down and down and down. My family's been in this business for 100 years. Never seen anything like this. The price of oil, it cost you X amount of dollars to get it out of the ground. And then all of a sudden you're seeing it being sold for a penny, 1 penny at lunch. And I got back after lunch. I looked at it. I started one of my preachers, my pastor. I did him on the Jay Young show last week. I was talking to him and I looked up at the screen. Oil's minus 20 and then minus 35 or something like that. And I was like, minus 20 and what does that mean? I don't understand. I mean, it's like just crazy but when people they had an expiration of Tuesday, you take delivery, and look, in Dallas Morning News, there's a great cartoon that talks about, it's a guy in a diner and he says, hey, I just bought something on Amazon and it's this big, huge tanker truck full of oil coming down the road, because he's going to take physical delivery because.
What else is he going to do?
Because that's what the contracts force him to do.
Right, exactly. A or B, take delivery or sell it. So they had to sell it. And then people on the other side just said, all right, well, I'll give you a penny. All right, well, if you want to sell it to me, you're going to have to sell it, but I want $20. I want
$30. You're going to have to give me $20 and the product.
Absolutely. Like us selling, it's like us selling crude, 180 barrels. When a tanker truck comes by one of our wells, they take the 180 and a check for $5,000.
Jay, let me first of all ask you, what is the deal with Russia and Saudi Arabia? Because that actually predates the coronavirus thing. This was all headed south before the coronavirus killed everything.
Absolutely. So, and that's the crazy, it's all geopolitics. It's all about market share. They want to drive the shell people out of business. They want to lower prices so much. Why would they lose billions of dollars a month selling their product for less money than their break evens, only because they wanted to lower the price for a certain amount of time to get these shell companies out of business, and people are asking me, about who right now is the healthiest. Well, your Exxons and your big companies there in Houston, they're healthy. I mean, they're not only driven by their asset, which is the Permian Basin, which takes $50 oil, and they have a huge amount of debt on this side. So they'll do a lot better. Now, they may furlough and, this kind of stuff, but they'll get back faster than most companies. A lot of companies will go out of business because of that. So Russia, Saudi Arabia, for all this oil in the market, supply and demand, price goes down, they can't handle it, especially if you're a shell company and you're not making any money or making a lot less money. You can't cover your G&A. You're surely not going to talk about, spending your money to drilling new wells. And that's only how companies grow, is by drilling new wells. So driving the price down. So it's all about market share.
So to kind of simplify what you're saying, depending on how the company gets the oil out of the ground, there's a cost difference from the guy who puts up a well and drills into a puddle of oil 1,000 feet down and draws it out versus a company that's fracking it out of shale, who pumps it, builds a hole, and then squeezes the toothpaste tube into that hole that he dug. There's a higher expense of fracking. So those that are well pumping have a lower cost of extracting oil than those that are fracking, and they're trying to drive the price down to put the high cost fracking out of business.
Right. See, they see that the majority of the well, which is the second half of my story I want to get to, which is why our oil price is going to go up. But you look at this and you say, hey, how did the United States go from 6 to 13 million barrels a day? How did it go up so fast? Well, the Permian, the Eagle Ford, the Bakken, and these are expensive wells because there's three factors that make up an internal rate of return, which is what based on economics and if people are going to give you money here, A, to get B, then they want to see, number one, how much does it cost you to drill and complete a well? Well, a good big Permian 1 mile, 2 mile long lateral may cost you $8.5 million to drill and complete one well. The second is, what's your reserves? What amount of oil is going to come out of the ground to see what the return of capital is? It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what the price is. It costs you X. A, B, you're going to come out with money. Third is, what's the commodity price? And I guarantee you commodity price is what's driving that big shell companies, these Permian companies. How we've gone from 6 to 13, it isn't because we've drilled wells cheap.
So Jay, what's going to happen at the gas pump? I mean, sooner or later we're going to start paying more for the barrel of oil, ultimately to the gas station and a gallon of gas. When is that going to happen, and how quickly is it going to happen?
Well, it should be happening now. You'll see it in the next 30, 60 days. So get ready for cheap. I mean, a friend of mine texted me last night. And he goes, "Man, I filled up for the first time in 7 weeks." He goes, "I feel for you, because of these oil prices." And you'll see all these gas prices come down. Grab your 5-gallon gas cans in your garage.
Fill them up.
Fill them up because we're going to, and that's our next segment, but I want to, about why are oil prices going to skyrocket at the end of the year? So,
well, let's do that right now. We got about another minute to go.
All right, good. Well, so all this exists. That's not existing production. You have a lot of wells right now that existing production, and they're shutting them down. Nobody's spending any money, and you're going to see wells when they shut wells in, especially these high pressure oil wells. When they shut them in, they don't just come back on automatically. Man, I've done it dozens of times. They don't come in. I hate shutting a well in, especially high-powered gas wells. It's like a champagne bottle. You just kind of, all of a sudden, they don't come back on. Number one. Number two, even if they didn't shut them in, existing wells in this shell decline 40 to 60% the first year. They may come on 1,000 barrels a day initially, but they're down to 300-400 barrels that year. Number one. Number two, rig count. Look at rig count. Rig count's already down 50%. It's going down 70, 80%. Nobody's going to spend money. The big boys are out of the game. You're not going to see rigs coming back. Number two. Number three is geopolitics. They're not going to continue losing money at this rate. They are going to come back and they're going to start saying, all right, so instead of selling more oil for less money, let's sell less oil for more money, right?
Sooner or later, they got to cycle it around.
Because they've accomplished their goal by crushing the fracking and shale oil organizations.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
5-6 months from now, I wrote an article in Forbes. It says $65 oil by the end of this year. And at first I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know about this pandemic thing going on. And maybe we need to kick that another 3 to 6 months, but I'm still there.
Right.
I'm still there. 1, existing production. 2, rig count. 3, geopolitics. You're going to see prices go up. Everybody's going to be healthy. Texas is going to be the number 3 country again. We're number 3. United States is number 1. Saudi Arabia number 2, and 3 if Texas was a country. if it was a country, which I know a lot of us think it is.
Sure, we do.
Texas is a country.
Jay, we're gonna. Yeah,
we're number 3. We passed Iran, Iraq, but I'm afraid of that number right now. So I don't.
Yeah.
We need to get back to the higher prices to continue. But hey, God bless America. God bless Texas.
I hope you're right, because I really want my 301k to be back to a 401k.
That's it. Jay, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Forbes book author, The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing. Really appreciate Jay Young talking to us from Dallas. Hey, be sure and stay in touch with us all week long by following us on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Stitcher, Podcast Arena, and through InWheelTime.com. Quick break now. Then a review. Actually, we already did the Mazda 6 review, but we've got more of the In Wheel Time radio program coming your way in just a quick second. Were you gonna say something?
Nope.
No, we were coordinating over here.
Y'all are coordinating over there?
Yep.
Without me?
Yes, sir.
Again?
We're uncoordinated.
Perfect. Just keep doing what you're doing.
BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
The In Wheel Time program. This is Houston's most in-depth car show. Streaming live online on Facebook, YouTube, InWheelTime.com. Thanks for joining us today. Today in automotive history. You know, it's almost kind of like the mystery garage, because I can't remember what time I got up this morning or what I did this morning.
Yeah, but I'm not afraid what I'm going to say. I'm really afraid of what you're going to get out of the automotive garage. So in 1936 was the birthday of TV Tommy Ivo.
Aw.
And if you remember Tommy Ivo.
I met Tommy Ivo.
Did you really?
I did.
He did some multi-engine dragsters back in the
great
day.
Guy.
Really
great
cool
guy. What a great personality. He's a TV personality.
Right, correct. And then in 1955 was when Volkswagen of America was established in Englewood, New Jersey. And that was the same year they had produced 1 million vehicles in 1 year. So between internationally and stuff. So I didn't realize Volkswagen only
What does he have to do with Tommy Ivo?
Nothing. It's just another thing that happened today in automotive history. So
I told you I got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning.
In 1962, Al Unser Jr. was born, and he's a two-time Indy 500 champion.
And he's as old as we are.
He's 5 years younger than me. Matilda Dodge Wilson, the widow of John Dodge from the Dodge brothers, she was named to the board of Graham Page Motor Corporation. Remember the Graham Shark Nose we saw at Autorama?
Yeah.
So that she was the owner, or she was on the board of directors for Graham Page.
I didn't know that.
No, neither did I. And Graham Page Truck Company was sold and purchased by Dodge in 1926, which over time became Ram Trucks. So I didn't realize that there was a Graham Page connection to the Dodge family. So I thought that was pretty interesting. In 2008, Danica Patrick won the Japan 300, the first woman to win an IndyCar race.
What happened to her?
Well, she ended up leaving Indy.
No, but I mean,
she's making GoDaddy commercials.
She went to NASCAR. She was somewhat.
No, she wasn't.
No, she sucked. She never really did that much in NASCAR.
She never got it on.
She never did anything in IndyCar either.
Well,
she had one win.
Well, she won one, so that's better than I ever did.
God. Is she?
And her boyfriend is what's his name from the Packers?
Him.
Yeah. The Chrysler Corporation purchased Lamborghini in 1987. Didn't do much with it apparently. But they only paid $25 million for Lamborghini in 1987 and then sold it off. And actually, Lamborghini is now owned by Volkswagen. In 1995,
Lamborghini is owned by Volkswagen.
It is.
You know, that just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't.
There's just something unnatural about that.
Very unnatural.
So, also in 1995, after producing 6,939 Lotus-tuned Corvette ZR1s, they went out of production. So the Corvette ZR1, remember that the original ZR1 for Corvette in the 90s was the engine that was built by Mercury Marine.
Yes, I remember
that 32 valve.
Right. And I don't think Mercury Marine has done anything since then with automobile engines.
Nothing automotive, but Lotus did the design work on it. Mercury Marine did the manufacturing work, and all that manufacturing work was actually done in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Only you would know that.
Well, of course. And then
Conrad, you want to know anything about Oklahoma? You ask Conrad.
Well, I lived there for 10 years.
Do you know that the Creek Indians were rooted out of Alabama and moved to Oklahoma?
Called the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
Pretty wild story.
Just wanted to let you know that.
So in 1901, the registration of vehicles, which is pretty mandatory now, was the first state. Guess what state charged you to register your car first? New
Wisconsin.
York. New York. So New York charged you $1
Detroit.
fee. Yeah. $1 to register your car in 1901, and look at it today.
What crooks?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. So that is this week in automotive history.
I don't want to stop. That was too good. Let's keep going, shall we? Yeah, automotive history. All right. I have something. I found on Haggerty, and I left I left a note for them to call me, and I never heard back.
Angelica. Calling Angelica.
No. This is about a story that was on the Haggerty website. I get an email once a week. They send me a little thing. And is it time to bring back the drive-in?
Yes. Oh, absolutely it is.
Well, we have one here.
Up in
Hockley.
Hockley.
Really?
Yep. Off of FM 2920. And it's just to the northwest of 99, between 290 and 249, kind of out there by
No, it
you.
is. It's about 5 miles west of Tomball on 2920.
Right. And so the whole idea is, obviously, coronavirus. You can't go anywhere. You can't go to the picture show. You can't go to the movies, right?
But you can go to your car.
But you can go to your car, as long as you don't get out of your car. Okay? So how do you handle going to the restroom or whatever, the snack bar?
Catheter.
Well,
one of those deals that fits inside your boot thing?
Would you like to?
No, that's a flask of bourbon.
Oh.
And don't get them confused. So the question is, are we going to see a resurgence of drive-ins? Because you don't have to have that big clunky speaker on a pole when you go into the drive-in now. You just tune it into some
They do
FM
local
channel,
broadcasting, right?
Right, on the FM dial, and you just tune it on your radio, and you got it in stereo, and it really is awesome. And the car can sit there and idle for days with the air conditioning on now.
Unless it's electric car, and then you run your battery. You run your battery down while you're watching the movie.
You were one of those that on a date you would ruin the date.
But you could get one of those little Honda suitcase generators and put it in the back. They're really quiet.
You don't need
crank
that.
it up and charge your car.
Don't buy a damned electric car. That's the answer to that. With $1.50 a gallon gasoline. My God. So at any rate, this is a very interesting story. If you go to the Haggerty website, and I'm sure that it's on there, but they're talking about, hey, why not? There are estimated 320 drive-ins still in the United States.
Oh, wow.
The Hollywood Reporter says only 25 of them are currently open. Why?
Yeah,
because you're supposed to be sheltering at home, right?
Yeah, but everybody wants to get out in their car, go to a car show. Well, go to a show in your car.
And, okay, so you go in there and you pay, whatever it is, $10 a person that's in the car, then not
that
including those that aren't in the trunk. and you pack a lunch. and you go to the bathroom
gotta pack
before
a
you
dinner.
go.
If you go to the car show for lunch, it's a little too light to see it on the screen. So you got to go for dinner, Don.
Yeah, whatever.
Dinner and a movie.
You pop the popcorn at home, take that with you. Grill a hot dog, take that with you.
You don't even have to do that. You can just put the hot dog under the hood and drive to the car show, and by the time you're there,
But you
it's
can't
already
get out of
hot.
the car.
Well, okay.
You're not supposed to get out of the car. But I thought it was a pretty interesting story, and I like I
Yeah,
said,
I didn't realize there's that many around. That
I don't know who own. I think it's owned by a private couple. I think up there in Hockley at the Showboat.
And it's actually been pretty successful.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
They line up on the street to get in to get a good parking
And
spot.
it's got to be. It's had to been there 10 years at least.
Oh yeah, it has been.
George Skelton says, Don, remember 3 things happen when you get old. Number 1 is you lose your memory. Number 2 is you can't remember the other 2 things.
And by the way, George, I got your package in the mail, and
Oh.
thank you very much for that. It was about his aunt, and you had mentioned
Right.
it, and so I'm going to
That's going to be a
remind-
great story. That's
Yeah.
going to be a great story.
Yes. So, and if you want to give a little tease, now's the time to do that.
Well, George's aunt had a huge relationship with the Corvette brand back in the 50s. Did some work with Chevrolet, with Duntov as well. She raced a bunch of them. George was telling me that she actually flew airplanes like a little pit special as well, and would fly upside down over Doris Day as she was doing her See the USA in your Chevrolet commercials. That plane that was flying upside down over, that was his aunt flying that plane.
Incredible. George and I go back to grade school, so.
And George's aunt as well has one of her planes is in the Smithsonian Space and Air Museum, and one of her Corvettes is in the Corvette Museum.
Betty Skelton.
Betty Skelton, correct.
Yes. No relationship to Red that I know of.
Well, George will tell us, I'm sure.
I'm sure that he will. George tells us lots of things when we're on the air.
Yeah, we got
Not all we can share.
Kind of edit them as we go.
But that's who George is. And George, we love you, and thank you very much for being a part of the In Wheel Time gang. I hope that you're doing well. I know that our high school reunion was postponed, as long as all the other high school reunions across America. And I think now they're trying to get it together for August. It was supposed to be in June. We're going to try again in August. I'm hoping, because it was going to be a pretty cool deal. A lot of people were coming. I'm not going to tell you what year, because it's none of your business.
Going to wheel them all in.
We're going to wheel us all in. Yes, we are. Those that are still breathing, at any rate. So there's that. All right. I think that's all that I have.
We've wandered off the ranch here.
We have wandered. We tend to do that.
Shiny thing, squirrel.
All right. Is our
next guest is up and ready to go, I
well,
believe.
why don't we just go ahead and get going with that?
Yeah, because I thought we were going to be a couple of minutes.
Okay, well, it's been a couple of minutes
No,
since you
we're
told me.
not going to be. You're going to be a couple of minutes, aren't you?
Well,
I am not going to be a couple of minutes. I am ready to go.
All right, so give us the introduction.
Well, I would, but as it turns out, that I don't think that my computer is plugged in.
What?
It became unplugged because somebody was messing with the wires earlier over here.
Oh, it's always somebody else's fault. Ainsley just got the dirty look.
On this computer here. So, just saying. It's his fault.
Of course.
And it's no one else's fault.
I'll take it.
Well, aren't we about to talk to Sabra Johnson?
Yes, we are.
Because his
Sabra.
wife Becky called me and reminded me that it's always his fault. So I just wanted to go ahead and.
I was afraid somebody else had called him.
Or she was going to blame somebody else besides you.
Well, I'm used to that. I just didn't know where we were going with that.
Why would you think any less of me? I don't have any clue.
It's Betty Skelton, by the way, not Becky. Betty.
No, I was talking about his wife,
Oh,
Becky.
Okay.
Yes.
We get our Bettys and our Beckys mixed up.
I don't understand how this has all come so unraveled all of a sudden.
Well, I don't know either. But
well, we're going to fix that right now.
So
can we do that? Can we fix it?
Yeah,
Sure.
we're
good.
fixed.
Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the In Wheel Time program. It's the car show that you've always wanted and is now here.
Like it or not.
And now you may not want it ever again. But welcome to the
We
In
are
Wheel.
good.
Yeah, we're live, we're weekly, and somehow, some way, we twisted somebody's arm and got an award. We don't know for what, but we got an award.
That's
It's
right.
the Car Talk Show. That's what we are. Along with Mike out of this world, Mars there, and King Conrad over there, I'm Don Armstrong over here. Thank you very much for joining us today. So, joining us now from City Classic Cars Restomod Builder Shop is Sabra Johnson. Sabra, thank you so much for joining us and bailing us out of this mess that we've gotten ourselves into.
Oh, thank you for having me. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's staying safe and all that kind of good stuff. How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing good, and how about you? You're looking healthy there, and we really appreciate you joining us today. We're looking forward to a tour of City Classic Cars.
Oh, man, we're excited always to hang out with you guys, some real car guys that, I mean, you guys get it inside and out, all makes and models from the old school to the new school.
Well,
So
because
you
we
guys
are
the
old
real
school.
deal.
Yeah. We are that. And speaking of old school, what is that you've got sitting in front of you? It looks like a small block Chevy, eh?
Well,
Nope.
This right here is a 302 Ford Mustang engine going
Missed it
into
by
a
that
64.5 Mustang.
Yeah, he doesn't understand what the exhaust manifold of a small block Chevy would look like. But
No,
that's
it's
okay.
I just realized the plugs, and never mind.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No, it's not.
It's a hard room. It's a hard room.
Maybe you saw this one. This is a small block Chevy over here.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was talking about. That's the one.
That's it.
The one that's not on the screen.
He smelled that one back hanging out there. He smelled that one hanging out back there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one you were talking about.
That's it. In fact, Carol was talking about that, too, and we were talking the other day.
Yeah. This car here is one that we're excited about, and if y'all give me a few minutes to talk about it, but when I build cars, I'm building somebody else's dream. It's my dream to help you build your dream, but this is somebody's dream. The Rossi family, he wanted a Restomod 1967 Camaro, and so this is his dream, and it's pro touring, makes me smile. So it has that restoration feel to it, where if you look at it, it looks like 67 now. I mean, it's not crazy. It looks like a 67, but when you look at that stance, and I know you guys know cars, you look at that stance, something's going on the backside. You look up here at this stance, something's going on. And so it's just a real cool car. And if you get a quick glimpse of what's going on in the interior, you can also see that the interior is a little bit different there. So I love building cars. I love building Restomods, which is restoration, modification, coming together. I know some guys don't like that, but I believe that's where it's going, and that's where everything is headed. If you take a tour of SEMA, any recent shows, this is what you're going to see. It's all about Restomods, and then even at a greater degree, it's all about the pro touring. So I love it, and the way I build them, I like to keep the body lines and all of that true. So that's my restoration ode to the car. I try to keep the architectural, the aesthetics of it, I try to keep it like it was in whatever year I'm building. In this case, 1967.
Well,
But,
I have to tell you that's my style right there, and I love actually that silver and red. I love the red stripe on it. It really classy looking. I don't like to jack like you. I don't like jacking with the bodies. I mean, it was cool then. It's cool now. Don't mess with that. Now, what do you do for wheels? Are you into the mindset of bigger is better for wheels?
No, I work at the pleasure of the client, so I have to, I give my expertise, my opinion, but at the end of the day, it's their car.
Well,
So,
what is your opinion on wheels?
I think 18s and 20s are enough. You go past 20, maybe 22s in some situations, but if I have my choice, I want 18s or 20s. I think it gives you a better ride. It's the best rideability. But I also think 15s and 16s are too small when you start talking about muscle cars. You start talking about performance. But I think 18 to 20 is where you want to be. I like to stagger them.
So
like
you
8.5s on the front, at least 10s on the back, width wise. So I like to have them staggered.
So
what we have here.
So on that Camaro, I mean the wheel wells are full. It looks like maybe you've got it lowered down a little bit. So is that like an 18 or a 20-inch wheel?
Yeah. We got 20s on the front and 20s on the back on this one. That's what he wanted. But we, of course, we had to tub the back, and we got a 10-inch tire on the back, and we got an 8.5 on the front.
Okay.
But we got Detroit Speed technology, upper lower control arms, top and bottom control arms, as well as the coilover. So this car is ready to ride. It's going to keep the ride height, things of that nature is going to be true. We're putting out the power. We use a Fab 9. We always use the Ford 9-inch on the back. Most drag guys or race guys or performance guys, probably about 98% of them are going to use that Ford product. So we're always using them in our cars. We just use a Fab 9.
What's underneath the hood of that car?
Say that again now?
What's underneath the hood of that car?
All right, underneath that car, you like it, man, because it's pretty basic in my sense of it. And I'll get up and look, but there's a lot of ways you can do it. And sometimes guys go, and I do too. Sometimes I go too far over the top. I'll have a custom cover over it. It'll be an LS3 in here. And when you open the 67, it looks nothing like a 67. What I love about this car is we wanted to show the plumbing. We did hide some things, but our goal was not to hide. We wanted it to look like a 60s, 70s era car where you could see the plumbing. You knew everything was there. If you wanted to work on it, it was easy to get to. So we're struggling to find that symbiotic balance between modernization of this engine compartment, but just keeping it really classic, really true, really old school. So even though this is a fast fuel injection system, if you look at it quick, it just looks like a carburetor.
Right.
It has an air cleaner on there. So, if someone's looking quick, it just looks like a carburetor. And serpentine systems on the Chevys have been around since the early 90s. So this is an old product that's been around for a while, even though this is the latest March system for this engine. But so it's just I think he has here a really, really good balance.
I do too.
And, I think it'd make the purists in you smile a little bit.
it looks quite streetable because it's got a monster radiator in it. And you can see it also has air conditioning. So this is something that's going to could theoretically be a daily driver, though you wouldn't drive it daily. But it's going to be something that he's going to be able to take long distances on car cruises and stuff.
Yeah, this guy's out of Argentina. He has a heck of a lot of cars, more than I could ever think to own. But we wanted to put the fuel injection. We would have went with a carburetor, but the fact that he's only driving the car maybe every 6 months, every 4 months, we thought he needed that reliability. So therefore, we put that fuel injection in there. But this is a driver, and I also like the 383 Strokers. But the 350 is the workhorse of the Chevy performance line. They don't break down. This was making about 360 pounds of torque, about 315 horsepower. Now, the 383s I do with the same block, they make about 100 more in each category. However, this engine here is far more reliable than, say, a 383 Stroker. So, yeah, I would drive this car every day of the week. I mean, it would be a treat to drive, you know what I mean?
And I think it would attract a little bit of attention.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere you went.
Yeah, that would be the bad part of trying to drive the car. Trying to drive the car every day. This really started off as my 67. So it was an SS 67, and it was I think it was gold and black with a rally stripe on it. And this guy flew in from Argentina and said he wanted me to build him a car. I said, "What do you want?" And he didn't know. I said, "What? You have a car?" He didn't have a car. I said, "Well, I got a few over there." He saw my 67, and it wasn't anything like this. And but we were gonna build it for me. And he said, "I like that 67." I said, "All right, let's do it." And so this is we have maybe 15 or 20 man hours left in it, just to kind of tighten up a few things. But and we're taking this car to SEMA. This is going to be one of our battle cars. Another time we'll come back again and we'll talk about that 67 Chevelle. If this is a resto mod, the 72 Chevelle is what we call Pro Touring. And but I like this car. I like the resto mods because they're not. The Pro Touring goes too far over the top. So
Right.
some people, it competes with the Ferrari and the Lamborghini and all of that kind of stuff. The Porsches. This car is just a 67 that maybe competes with the 2020 Camaro. So it stays true to who it is and itself. It's not trying to compete with a Ferrari or anything like that. It's not trying to be a world-class global car. It's just trying to be a re-envisioned Camaro with some of this modern technology while keeping the car looking period specific. And,
Sabra. So
yeah,
I have
sure.
to ask you, do you do paint and interior as well there at City Classic?
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of weird like that, man. A lot of guys sub out. There are two systems most builders, and I don't care who they are, they sub out two areas. They sub out the paint and body, and most of them sub out the interior. And my approach is I want to build the best car I can build, meaning I want to control the whole process. So maybe I'm a control freak, but I want to paint the car at my shop. I want to rub the car. I want to do the metal work, the body work, the paint work. I want to do all of that at my shop. I want to know how much time we got in it. I want to know the products we're using. I want to know what's happening on this car every day. So I'm doing the paint work, the interior work, the engine work, the chassis work. I'm doing all the electrical work. I'm doing this car never left my property. It was already on my property when the client came. It's never left. It hasn't gone anywhere. And I take a little pride in that. And so we push hard. And when we compete with guys on the international stage, like we'll do with this car in SEMA, I look at them all and I say, hey, I built all mine, but
Build it all. Well, let me ask you a question. I was going to ask you a while ago, but do you know, after you get through with the car at SEMA, is this car going to stay here or is it going to end up back in Argentina? Or do you know?
Originally, I think this car was headed to Argentina, and I don't know too much about the political landscape, but I think something changed as far as bringing cars in over there with the new administration. So I think this car is going to stay in Houston, Texas.
Nice. Maybe we'll get to see it.
In the background, shaking her head. So I think it stays here in Houston, Texas. So that'd be cool.
Yeah.
We'll be able to see it from time to time.
Yeah, see it out on some of the cruise ins.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he'd probably take it. Yeah, pretty cool car.
So what else have you got working there in the shop, Sabra?
Another car we got working, I'll show you a little peep of it.
I love this tour thing. I do. Okay.
All right, so this one here.
Oh, the camera's got to catch up to him.
This one here, this one here is a little bit more flashy, a little bit more. I'm not saying it's a nicer car or better car. It's just a different car. You know, say a BMW better than a Ferrari. They're just two different cars. Or
Right.
250 better than a Honda. They're different cars. So this is designed to compete on a global stage against pro touring cars. And so that means everything about this car, if we were manufacturing this brand new, that means that this car could compete with a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 car on the road. So that's the Ferraris, the Porsches. Not that Porsche goes up that high, but you know what I mean. This is
Right.
creme de la creme of cars. So this car is being fitted with an LS9. And so we're talking about lots of power there. And when we get finished with it all, it's going to probably make about 800, 900 horses. And so this is one that we're excited about. And you can look at the interior a little bit. You can see when you start doing pro touring, you want to do buckets. So it's going to be 4 buckets. But in this case, we incorporated his original back seat. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a custom console coming down where you can see that opening there. It's going to come all the way down to the front. And so this car's going to have 4 buckets in it. It's LS9. It's all black. And then these tires and rims, Clyde picked these out. But these, you can see a little dust on them. But these tires and rims are probably I don't know, they're probably $13,000, $14,000.
Oh my God!
yeah, right. I can buy me a pickup truck.
Exactly,
dude.
It's just different, and so from that perspective, this car, everything about this car has to have a consideration, from the tires to the rims to the suspension. Again, we got Fab 9 on the back. We got 373 gears, but we got true track differential. And so you know what that means when you get this car on a curve, both wheels aren't going to turn. One wheel is going to turn, the other wheel is going to follow. You get in the other turn, one wheel is going to follow, one wheel is going to turn. So it's going to have all the latest technology on here. It's going to be a really beautiful car. The sound system is going to be custom. You know, it's not going to boom, but it's going to be crisp and clear. It's all going to be hidden. Of course, we're using all the best products, Vintage Air, American Auto Wire, Classic Instruments, PPG paint. Pretty excited about this client's dream. His dream was, hey, I want the baddest Chevelle on the planet. I want them to compete with anyone. So it's a 72. This one is owned by the Artist family. And so I'm excited for this to build his dream car. Yeah, and that's what it's all about. I don't care if it's a Bonneville. I don't care if it's a Honda, a Datsun, a bicycle. My job is to build your dream, man.
Hey, where is your shop?
We're in Spring, Texas, 16548 Stupner Airline Road.
I know where Stupner Airline Road is.
Right across from Klein High School.
Right across from Klein High School's football stadium. Almost at the corner of Louetta and Stupner Airline, right there by the big HEB. But we have a facility there. We have 4 main buildings, but we do fabrication and body and paint in one of those large sections.
So next time I come through that intersection, I'm going to start right over there in your parking lot, and I'm going to give it a great big huge burnout, and you'll know who it is. Is that okay?
Hey, man, I'm all for it. Don't let the police get you.
Sabra, we love you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. We really appreciate it. It's always great to talk to you.
I thank you guys always for thinking about me, giving me a call. You don't have to do it. I just want you to know I really do appreciate it.
Well,
thank you guys so much.
We love you. You take care of yourself. We'll talk soon.
Yes.
Sabra Johnson with City Classic Cars. He's the Resto Mod builder shop guy up there on the north side of town, and you need to check him out. And thank you for joining us today here on the In Wheel Time program. And time now for our Ram Tracks feature, In Wheel Time's weekly look into the Ram Nation. And Mr. Mars has that.
We always like to talk about technology, and we've been doing a lot of that today. One of the things, particularly when we were talking with about the autonomous driving and stuff earlier, a lot of this technology like the blind spot monitoring. So what Ram has, they've got their traditional blind spot monitoring, if you will, and now they've combined that with the rear cross path technology that people have, and they've even taken it a step further. Now they put it with a trailer technology. So now the trailer detection. So the blind spot monitoring and stuff extends all the way to the back of the trailer. So if you're pulling your boat and you're passing the vehicle, that blind spot technology is going to extend all the way until your boat is passed, just like it's an extension of your vehicle.
Making you smarter than you were when you got in the truck.
A whole lot smarter. So I mean, it works for the whole length of the trailer, and that's what's going to help keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, it truly is. All right. We've got more of the In Wheel Time car show coming up right after this.
911, what's your emergency?
God, there's a train that just hit a car.
Sir, what is your location? Look around for a street sign, sir.
It's 8th and Orchard. 8th and Orchard.
Okay, very good. 8th and Orchard. Sir, help is on the way.
Why would you do that? The train still doesn't stop. You have to get there now.
At a railway crossing, even if the engineer sees you and hits the brakes, it can take a mile for the train to stop. And for you, that's too late. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
It's In Wheel Time. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can do that through an email. And the address is info@inwheeltime.com. So Conrad had a couple of news stories.
Just a few little short quips. Ford is testing in their assembly plants wristbands that all the employees have to wear that are going to go off and tell you if you're getting too close to somebody and start vibrating for social distancing. I thought that was pretty creative. Exactly, what kind of like a dog shock collar. If you get too close, it's just going to vibrate. It's
You
not
know
gonna
what?
juice you.
I need one of those for you guys.
No, I was thinking, don't tell any of the girls at Don's Day.
So the word out from
Oh my God! He actually just said that
on
He
the
did-
air.
He just said that.
And the wild thing is, I know he meant it too.
And,
So-
and I have to tell you that I was going through some stuff here at the house, and I ran across the instruction booklet for a dog shock collar fence, an invisible fence.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was rather timely that you mentioned that. Just saying.
So you can't keep any secrets in the car business, and from what I understand,
Or in this show.
or on the show, and this is some news that's coming out of the assembly plant in Texas for Toyota. They are working on a twin-turbo hybrid combination, twin-turbo V6 for their full-size truck. Don't know when it's going to be released, but charging after the Raptor itself, and they're talking about possibly 2022. General Motors
We've got to do something with the gas mileage in that big beast.
Well, and
Tundra.
that may be where this combo hybrid powertrain is coming from. General Motors is canceling its Maven car sharing business. They're sending that to the junkyard. You know, that was where you could buy a subscription to a car and kind of swap your cars in and out over time.
Really dumb.
GM is sending that to the junkyard right now because social distancing and cleaning the car between people is going to be a little more complicated.
What a dumb thing. I mean, who wants to buy a subscription, I'm sorry, to a GM car?
Well,
I would buy a subscription to, a Lamborghini.
Right.
Or something,
Or something where you could get into those kind of cars occasionally. You know, Nissan started doing something similar, and who else did? Somebody else did.
Mercedes and Audi have done it now.
Well, Mercedes and Audi, though, I mean, that's...
Who's got money for that?
Well, the people that
The
are
people
after
are
have got
buying
the
it,
money.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking a couple of $1,000s a month. It's not cheap either.
Exactly. I mean, dumb. Just go and buy the car and then
Yeah, but
turn
if
it
you want
and sell it.
to, if you want to drive something different every month without going through that hassle of buying and selling it,
Go to the rent car agency.
Well, yeah, that's the way I do it.
Which is to a degree what they're doing. what it
Speaking of, this is several years ago. I may have mentioned this in a prior show, but I did a feature story on a Lamborghini. So I went up the North Freeway to the Lamborghini dealership, talked to the general manager up there, really a nice guy, and I said, who buys these cars? He says, guys that have a lot of money, obviously.
Yeah.
But money is never an object. So they buy the car, they drive it on and off for a few months, they turn it in and get something else of that genre of a car. $100,000, $200,000, no big deal to them. So what do they do with their Shelby Mustang GT 500? They trade it in.
Mm-hmm.
He had all of these trade-ins of hot rods and really cool cars.
Oh, yeah.
And they dealt them all online. Nobody ever visited the showroom. They had them all lined up on one side of the showroom. He said, you know what? If you want that Shelby Mustang, I'll give it to you for my cost. He just wanted to get rid of it.
Right, yeah, because it's inventory to him, and he just wants to turn the
Move it,
inventory.
yeah.
And not everybody can afford it, and not everybody can get the insurance if they can afford to pay the note.
But his profit on the sale of the Lamborghini outweighed the non-revenue created by the sale of the Shelby used car.
And the interesting thing there is that who would think of going to a Lamborghini dealership or a Ferrari dealership, pick any of those exotic cars, to buy a used performance car?
Right.
They're there, and
Never
all
even-
they want to do is move them.
Wouldn't even have thought about it.
I wouldn't have either. So just thought I'd throw that up. Yes?
We got time to talk about next week?
We do.
Okay. Just a little head up. Michael Wooding, our friend from the
I
automotive.
know, he was supposed to be on today.
Yeah, we had to do some juggling, and he was quite gracious and agreed to come next week instead. But a couple of the guys from Ram Trucks are going to join us. We're going to be talking about the eTorque system and electrification there. Gina, our friend Gina, is going to be with us, and we're going to talk about the history of asphalt racing in Houston with some old school stuff coming up into where we're at now.
Oh, cool.
In the area.
Yeah.
And then you remember that barn find Mustang that we looked at down there at the Lone Star Flight
I
Museum?
do. Vividly, yeah.
The black one.
He's going to be with us to give us an update on where he's at with that car now.
Did he wash it?
I didn't ask, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you.
That's going to be a secret.
It's going to be a secret to see where he's at and what he's done with that car.
Just like the mystery garage.
That's right, the magical mystery.
Because I remember that Shelby still had spider webs
It did.
in the driver's side front wheel well.
It was only like a couple of weeks or something since he had found it, so he's
Now,
had,
he was
he's
the one
had it a
sent-
year
Yeah,
now.
right. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and we are going to be back after this.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others, and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You know, I love the charades that you're doing over there while the commercial for the coronavirus is playing. I liked it. And I'm sure that everybody that's watching online liked it.
And I thought you liked the hashtag.
I like it. Whatever.
Can't remember it, but he likes it.
Time now for the stories making auto news headlines this week. Could cash for clunkers work better this time around?
No. Never.
Why?
Never. Because what Cash for Clunkers does is it takes a whole price range of used cars out of the market. So that bottom level price range of used cars disappears in Cash for Clunkers because, you know, you don't really get that much money for the car, but you do get incentivized by the federal government to do that. But it really hurts those used car lots that are selling that $2,000 to $5,000 car. Those guys almost went out of business in the first round of Cash for Clunkers.
Well, let me just say
I can see
this
that,
about
but-
what's currently happening in the market, because they're not selling new cars. And the biggest factor, I think, in all of this, they're not selling used cars. They're not selling any cars right now. The biggest factor is that people kind of poo-poo is the fact that the rental car market has imploded because nobody's traveling.
Right.
Guess what time of year it is? It's time for
To cycle.
to cycle all of the cars. So when they all come back, when the rental car companies come back, they don't need all these cars.
Right.
I have a friend that works in the rental car business. She's been with them I said, so how many cars in your fleet in the Houston area alone?
200-300.
40,000.
Oh my! Oh, I mean rental cars in Houston market itself.
And just that brand.
Oh wow!
40,000. Okay, so I'll start multiplying that with all the brands, because it's not just at the airports, although that's the majority of them.
Sure.
There are rent car firms all over town.
Now look at the compounding problem that creates, not just the used cars. What's going to happen to all of those lease cars that the manufacturers have as those used cars totally flood the market, and then the residual value that they had set for those used cars 2-3 years ago, that's going to nosedive, which is going to be a real financial drain on the vehicle manufacturers' finance companies.
So I think that what we need to do is we need to talk to somebody in the know about the used vehicle market. And maybe we can put that on the calendar. Maybe talk to the Emmons brothers down there in Friendswood.
Oh, good idea.
We've been looking for them.
Yeah. And actually, David passes by them all the time.
Duh.
And so,
where you been, dude?
So I'm thinking that
hiding in his car.
Maybe next week what we need to do is talk to them and see what they're facing, because
Week after next.
or the week after next, whatever the case may be. Because You know, it's going to be a great time to buy a used car.
Well, and it may also be a pretty good time to buy a new car. Think about it as we come to the 1st of May and things start to open up. These unbelievable incentives they have right now of 0% for 84 months may be going away.
More to come.
Yeah. So that's right. So we got a full plate next week on next week's show.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that because we're going to get the technical bugs fixed. We got most of them fixed, and we're going to have some more. I hope you like our new studio, by the way. Studio A.
Yes. The boys worked hard on it this
and
week.
The Mystery Garage. Well, that's it for today's In Wheel Time Car Show. Hey, when you're on Facebook, please give us a like. You'll get Conrad's unicorn hunting features along with all things automotive. And while you're there, sign up for our feeds on Twitter, Instagram, Stitcher, Podcast Arena, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, InWheelTime.com, and Don's Bathroom. Special thanks to all of our guests today. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is the fabulous David Ainsley. And our grip master this week has been Jeffrey Zekinen. Thank you, sir,
Get
for
a
all
grip,
of your
Jeff.
help. From Mike Out of This World, Mars, and King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. We saying so long for now, and we hope that you'll join us live every Saturday, noon to 2, right here on this BAT channel. Maybe I shouldn't even say BAT.
Oh, God.
Bad connotation. Hey, thanks for being part of the In Wheel Time family. Have a great week. Stay fabulous and sanitary like you know you want to be.